I'm Victor. I am super excited today to talk about Pair, our delicious account recovery solution. So Pair, I will talk a little more about this. But first of all, I guess I'm Victor. I work on the blockchain client for Celo. I work on account recovery and also work on cryptography. Today, I'm mostly talking about account recovery, or entirely talking about account recovery. Over the past, I guess, what I want to start out with is, like, who here has ever lost their crypto keys? Like, who are, like, yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people, I feel like, in this ecosystem have at least once lost some amount of money because they misplaced a mnemonic or never wrote it down, and they go, oh crap, like it's gone. And as we're trying to build a system that creates conditions of prosperity for everyone, this is the kind of thing that when it happens will be much bigger impact. If someone who is saving for the first time on a Celo protocol loses all their life savings, or what they put into the protocols, these safe yield generation systems, that's devastating for them. So as we kind of build these protocols that allow us to have people earn, to spend money, to save their money, we really cannot put users at risk of them losing all that savings and all that reputation or whatever they put into the system due to a simple accident. And so that's why I really care about account recovery solutions. And there are a number of account recovery solutions that I've been kind of thinking about. And today I want to talk about one in particular, which is just a pin-encrypted account recovery solution, or Pair. And it's a very simple but powerful and secure complement to Pair backups that is truly non-custodial. And I'll talk a little bit more how it works. So let's start with the user experience first. So when someone loses their phone, they drops on the ground, breaks it, they may or may not have their backup key. If they do, it's still kind of a process to type it in again. And so we want to make a better user experience. So this is the recovery experience. Basically, you show up, you say, I want to restore my backup. You enter your PIN, and then you're back in business, which is pretty nice. On Android, there's one more step, which is to sign into your Google account. But this is the experience we want to deliver, and this is the experience that cLabs is working with Valora to enable in the near future. The onboarding is actually also rather simple. You create a new account, you create your PIN, you opt into Cloud Backup, and in the background it sets it up, and you're good to go. And so this is a much simpler solution than writing down an account key. And you actually still do need an account key in order to complement the system, but it gives you an extra layer of protection with very little friction. And this is the kind of the developer experience we want to enable, basically, to actually create these backups and to enable them. So in this case, the SDK that we have available today is integrated. You integrate with it by basically creating these backup objects. You store the backup object, and then when you want to retrieve it, you go and retrieve the backup object, enter their PIN, and retrieve the backup. And so up to the point of whatever cloud storage you want to use, so in this case, like integrating with Google Drive or iCloud, the actual creation of these backup objects is what is handled by the Pair protocol. And so with that, we're talking about the developer experience and the user experience. Let's actually talk about what this actually is. So the security model we want to enable here is that access to a backup requires two things. It requires access to the user's cloud storage account. So this is their Google Drive or their iCloud account. That is one factor of authentication. Google and Apple, for instance, have spent a lot of time and energy into securing their accounts, and they have their own flows to help users secure that. So we want to leverage that as one factor in our security model. You could equivalently use any other authenticated storage mechanism. As long as it provides authentication and some kind of secure storage, you can use it in the same way. The other factor, which is what Pair actually is enabling, is unlocking the backup requires the user's PIN or password and cannot be brute forced or otherwise broken into without the user's PIN or password. This is kind of the major key here, is that if you just use the PIN or the password, kind of like some wallets do, to encrypt the backup, you are massively vulnerable to brute force attacks. So PIN codes are obviously super guessable. 6-digit PIN codes, there's only 1 million of them. You sit on a consumer laptop, and you can generate all of them in an hour and hash them all using whatever hash mechanism you use and generate all the keys. and break it easily. Passwords are not a ton better. So a experienced password cracker has probably about a 50-50 shot at unlocking anyone's backup if it's just created using a standard password, like with a user-generated password without heavy constraints. So we really cannot accept the idea of users having a 50% chance of their backup being compromised if ever revealed. So this is where the core of the pair system comes in. So this is the core of pair is pith, which I will admit, piths are part of oranges and not part of pears. But anyway, those are the reasons for the name as well. But basically, this is an extension to Otis, our phone number privacy system, and it's a new building block for key hardening. And it's also something we hope to use for other account recovery solutions as well, with this pair protocol being the one we want to enable first. So the technology overview for pith is that, as I said before, user-selected pins or passwords are not suitable for encryption. What you need to do is you need to harden these pins or passwords by putting them through some kind of one-way function that is costly to compute. So if someone wants to guess your password, they have to basically take your password, then put it through this hash function or whatever you use, and that hash function has to be rate limited, such that they can only make a certain number of guesses before they run out of quota, or it's too expensive to compute. So an example, a really interesting example of this, or kind of like a theoretical example of this, is if you imagine that there was some booth, and somebody came up with their password guess, and they go up and they give the password guess in, they put a quarter in, and they get out the yes or no whether the password guess is correct. Then every guess would require a quarter, and guessing 1 million or 1 billion passwords attempts would be extremely expensive and not worth the money. So that's basically the entire idea that we want to enable, is that every time you want to guess, you have to pay some amount. The other alternative to this is basically that you find some way to basically limit the total number of guesses that the person ever has. So basically, instead of charging per guess, you would say that all the guesses are free, but you only get 30 ever. And then after that point, the account is locked down. So that's that's more like what an iPhone does, for instance. If you enter your passcode too many times, it'll start rate limiting you, where it says you wait 30 seconds, then wait an hour, then wait a day, and then eventually it'll lock down the phone entirely or even erase all the data. That's effectively what we've enabled with this pith system as an extension to Otis. So what it is it is a 5 of 7 threshold mechanism, which you hand it a blinded form of your PIN or password, and it will hand you back a blinded evaluation. That evaluation you can then unblind and receive the actual hardened key. This blinding factor basically is a information theoretically secure way of ensuring that the Otis servers that run this protocol will never be able to see or ever tell what your PIN or password is. So basically, you hand it this encrypted value, or effectively encrypted value. You get back the encrypted result. You unwrap it, and then you can use that as your hardened key to create your encryption. And when you want to recover, you do the same process again. You get the exact same result, and you can then unlock your account again. So kind of summarizing, the core here is basically we've created this rate-limited key hardening service that users can enable enable with their key. It never sees your key, but it allows you to generate a hash or a hardened key from the initial secret input from the user. And this is all secure as long as a threshold 5 of 7 of the Otis servers are not compromised, where the Otis servers are run by a number of people from the community, including Patrick here from Moolah Market. Yeah. Don't target him. But anyway. And this system is also designed for flexibility. So I mentioned that our first application is key hardening, and our first target is this pair, and our first implementation that's going to use this is the pair protocol. But this key hardening idea can be used for a lot of things. In fact, you could use it, for example, for on-chain identity verification using a password as one form of identity. Basically, what you can do is you take your password, pass it through this key hardening service, then you now have a signing key, which you can use as an address on-chain, and you can sign transactions through a multisig, for instance. So you can use this primitive for a lot of different flexible things, and we really want people, and we've designed the system from the ground up to support new rate limiting functions and new ways of using this service. And I would love to talk to anybody who has an idea of how they want to use this. So currently today, we have now finished the cryptography implementation. The Otis server implementation is being wrapped up now, and the SDK is ready to develop against. So if you're interested in using this, you can start developing today, and the full release will be coming soon and be deployed to mainnet. We are very excited to actually have this available for wallets and dApps to start to utilize. We envision quite a few future applications as well. A lot of researchers have figured out how to use this core primitive. So this is called a partially oblivious pseudorandom function. It's a well-known primitive in the cryptography world. And a number of people have figured out ways to use it in very fun ways. And we'd love to see some of those applications come to Celo as well. So some ideas, like I mentioned before, account generation via passwords. You can also use privacy pass style anonymous credentials, which allow you to log into services or prove that you're human or otherwise interact in a more anonymous way on the internet. And there's also, we also talk about privacy preserving identifiers beyond phone numbers, which is what Otis currently enables today. So I want to make sure there's a little time for questions. Otherwise, I can get into more of the cryptography of how this actually works. But I love to see if, first of all, if anyone has any questions. Yeah?
Yeah, I was wondering if... Sorry. Cool. My question is around, like, with this current system, isn't there still well, I guess like the question is there any sort of salt or pepper added to that pin before it's like sent to Otis? Mm-hmm. Or is there like, would it be possible to create a rainbow table of some of the most common pins? Even with this rate limiting on Otis, is it possible to create like a rainbow table?
If you use it, depending on how you use it, it would be necessarily possible. But with pair, for instance, yes, there is a salt involved. And there's additionally things like a circuit breaker key that basically allows it that ensures that the result is unique per user. This is where the partially based part of it comes in. So Otis today could actually be used as a key hardening service, but it would be vulnerable to that exact attack, that table attack, which is why we went ahead and actually put in the effort to implement this new cryptographic primitive that we can enable people to add salt to their values. Yeah.
Thanks, Victor. This is really cool. Is the user able to change the PIN with the current implementation?
Yeah, so basically, if they change their PIN, they just need to send a single setup operation to Otis. That will basically give them the initial output. They can then do the rest of the setup of their backup locally. So they can easily change their PIN. They just need to be able to. They just need to access the original secret or be able to decrypt the original one. Or decrypt their existing backup, and then create a new backup, no problem. There's no cost to creating backups. Mm-hmm.
Seems no one was asking anything.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit lost in what the flow is exactly from like, since the user just writes their PIN and what happens and from where, like, who hits all this and then that returns and then how do I handle that? So basically, if you can give a brief explanation of the technical flow that goes, behind curtains after I just, write my PIN and then try to recover.
Yeah, totally. So basically what you do is when you create an account and enter your PIN, once you've entered your PIN, the first thing it does is it'll send that PIN it'll create a nonce, which is the salt value, and send the nonce plus the PIN combined together to Otis and get the evaluation. This evaluation is stable. Basically, the next time they come back and enter their PIN with the same salt again, we get the same result. That's the initial. So I'll back up a second. So what you do, enter your PIN. Then as soon as you enter your PIN, the pair protocol will create a randomized nonce. That randomized nonce is then hashed with the PIN. Both those get sent. The results get sent to Otis. Otis responds. You unblind the evaluation, so now you have the final hardened key. You use that hardened key to encrypt your account key and any metadata you want to also store in your backup. You take that encrypted backup, and then you post that to your Google Drive or to your iCloud account.
I see. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not sure if I follow it correctly, but in the case of that, you lost your access to the wallet and you have to give access again in another smartphone, that you only have to enter the PIN in order to restore the wallet. How you can replicate the randomly generated nouns in order to hash it with the PIN and send it to the others?
So you need your PIN and access to the backup file itself. The backup file has the nonce on it.
Right, got it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, thanks. I really want to talk to developers who are interested in account recovery solutions. Even if you're not interested in implementing this exact account recovery solution, I am very excited to talk about it to anyone who's interested. And we'd be very happy to help think about interesting custom solutions that work for your individual users. So if you are interested in account recovery, please talk to me.